Welcome to the Better Together podcast. I'm your host, Kyla, and today we're talking all about memory, sleep, and dreams. And it's going to be a very interesting topic, something that fascinates me, as I'm sure fascinates a lot of people. But before we get started on the topic, I'm going to be reading my Journey to the Heart entry. This is what the book looks like. I don't know if I've ever shown it. I don't think I have because this is only my second visual episode. So this is what it looks like. I picked this entry because it kind of has to do with the previous episodes and, when you're in a transitional period and you're taking steps to change something in your life. So it's just about trusting the process, trusting the universe, and trusting yourself that you're making a good decision for you. So this is called Honor the Process of Spiritual Growth. Don't wait for things to change. The change you're waiting for will come from within you. Start to nurture yourself through each stage of your evolution, your spiritual growth. Waiting for things to change is a tiresome, irritating process. But embracing our own emotions and growth is exciting. It can become a positive challenge that turns life into a vital, interactive process. The moment we surrender to this process, something happens. If we feel an emotion, an old, stuck, hardened chunk of emotion, or a new one that has arisen along the path, we can release it and the belief attached to it. I am unlovable. Life has to be hard. I deserve to be punished. When we release the emotion and the belief, our body shifts. It detoxifies, changes. A new lesson then emerges. We discover we can choose joy, freedom, forgiveness. The lessons that can emerge are as unique as our old beliefs. We wrestle with each new lesson as it grows and appears in many different forms on the job, in love, relationships, in all of the arenas of our lives. Soon we come to a new conclusion about ourselves, about our lives. I am lovable. I am creatively feeling what God and the universe have to offer me. I am free. I can bring my full essence and energy before the world. Then when our beliefs change, our lives change. The change we've been waiting for happens, but it happens as a result of our own evolutionary process, not because we waited for something or someone in our lives outside ourselves to change. Trust this process of change. Honor it, respect it, revere it. You no longer have to wait for something to happen. Something is happening right now within you. Welcome the change that can be yours. Let life help you as you take an active part in creating these changes. Let the process become living, interactive, and magical. So I like that because I felt like it went along sort of with what we've been talking about lately and just trusting the process and being okay with change and accepting that. So now, actually, before we get into the topic, I just wanted to do a little check-in. Let me know what you guys are thinking of the visual. I know I'm doing it at a different time than I did the last episode. The last episode I was doing it during the day, so the lighting is a little different. I don't have a set schedule of when I record. I kind of just work around when I have the time and space to do it, just because I have a full-time job, and so I kind of work my life around that, obviously. And it's been super busy because I just released my first visual episode, like I said. I made a YouTube channel and all of this stuff, so things have been pretty hectic as far as the podcast is going. So please let me know what you guys think of it. Remember that this is something that is changing, growing, and will get better with time and as I learn how to do this. And as I get into more of a routine with all of this. Another big thing that I didn't have in the last visual episode is I have my tripod and a light, and so I feel like things are a little bit more set up, and this is sort of how it's going to be looking from here on out, depending on what time of day I do it, if it's the daytime or the evening. Right now it's Friday, so in the evening, it's a cozy night, staying in tonight, and it's raining out. I have a little wine, and we're just going to have fun this episode. It's going to be easygoing, chill. I wanted to do something a little bit more on the fun, lighthearted side, just because, again, the last few episodes have been a bit more heavy, and so let's have a little fun on a Friday night. All right. So the way that I kind of organized this episode is I wanted to start off by discussing just what why we dream and the theories behind dreaming and how memory plays a part in it, and all of that. And then I kind of wanted to go into, dream stories I have. I'm personally someone who has extremely vivid dreams, so I thought it'd be fun to talk a little bit about that. And then I also picked out some interesting stories on Reddit of other people's dreams and theories behind those as well. So it's just a fun, lighthearted episode. I have always been super fascinated by dreams, and I actually took a memory, sleep, and dreams class in college, which kind of started my fascination on it. And interestingly enough, dreams, there's no like scientific really understanding behind why we dream. Nobody really fully understands it. And so everything that I'll be reading as far as the stuff that I researched about why we dream and the theories behind it are just theories, and that's it. There's no scientific proof behind it, which I also think is interesting because we're living in such a scientifically advanced time that you would think that we would have a better understanding and grip of why we dream and what they mean, but we don't. So that is another fascinating thing to me. All right, so I did a little bit of research, so I'm going to be doing a little bit of reading. So let's start off. Why do we dream? Dreams occur as part of the brain's activity during sleep, especially in the REM, rapid eye movement stage. REM is crucial because it's when the brain is highly active, resembling wakefulness. Scientists believe REM sleep sets the stage for dreaming due to high brain activity, reduced logic, memory, and emotional processing. So within high brain activity, areas like the amygdala, which I don't know if I'm saying that right, so hopefully I am, but the amygdala, which are behind like your emotions, that's the part of the brain that holds all of the emotions, and hippocampus, which is your memory, are active, generating vivid emotional dreams. So then the reduced logic is the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for reasoning, and that's less active, making dreams feel surreal or illogical. And then the memory and emotional processing. REM supports organizing memories and processing unresolved emotions, which may manifest in dreams. So the way I kind of interpret this is that we're basically like hallucinating when we sleep, and there's no like it says reduced logic because your prefrontal cortex is less active or shut off, not fully shut off, but less active, and your amygdala, where your emotions, and your hippocampus, where your memories are a lot more active. And then your memories and the stuff you have going on a day-to-day basis play a part in your dreams. Okay. So, and I don't know about you guys, but for me, I have dreams that make zero sense, but sometimes parts of it have to do with what's going on in my life at that moment. Okay. So there's a few theories behind why we dream. So there's the activation synthesis theory, which is during REM, random neural signals are generated and the brain tries to create a story to make sense of them. Then there's the threat simulation theory, which is you're in REM, and REM dreams simulate dangerous or challenging scenarios to prepare us for real life situations. That's interesting. So maybe when you are having a nightmare or something very scary is happening that you haven't actually experienced. Although what's interesting about that is, and this also actually has to do with REM now that I think about it, but in the times where I have like a scary dream, let's say I have dreams about being kidnapped. That's like one of my biggest fears, and I can't run and I can't scream. But when you're in REM, like your physical body is shut down. Not your brain, but your physical body is shut down. So you can't do certain things like that. But I just think it's interesting that it's also the theory behind it is that it's a threat simulation theory. So you are, I guess, practicing for if a threat were to happen. Okay. The next one is memory consolidation theory. REM aids in organizing and storing important memories, often reflected in dream content. So working through how I interpret that is working through certain things that have gone on in your life or memories that you have that have really stuck with you. And then there's the Freudian theory, which is dreams during REM allow hidden desires and repressed thoughts to surface symbolically. My brain automatically goes to like sex dreams. I don't know about you. There were some interesting dreams I read on Reddit, which I didn't include in this, but there is one that I read, which was about someone having a dream that they were having sex with themselves, which I thought was really fascinating. But then they go on to explain that they just had gone through a breakup and it was an abusive relationship that they are going through. It was an abusive relationship and they're like trying to re-find themselves. So I thought that was interesting. Okay. The Jungian theory, I don't know how to pronounce his name correctly. People pronounce it differently, but I think it's Jung. So the Jungian theory is when REM dreams tap into the unconscious and use archetypes to reveal deeper truths about ourselves. So, in summary, REM sleep creates the perfect environment for dreams by activating emotional memory and creative centers of the brain while loosening logical constraints. The stage is the backbone of vivid, meaningful dreaming. You can dream outside of REM sleep, though. You can dream outside of REM sleep, though these dreams are generally less vivid, less emotional, and less complex. Dreams during non-REM, which is NREM sleep, tend to involve simpler, more thought-like experiences. So let's go into that breakdown. Dreaming in NREM sleep is the characteristics tend to be like dreams are more fragmented and less immersive compared to REM dreams. They often feel like everyday thoughts or replay recent events. I have this often. I'm a mix of both. Like I do have very mundane dreams, which I would consider in the NREM sleep state, and where sometimes I wake up and I'm like, did that really happen? Like, did I actually experience that? And I'm just like thinking of a memory, or was that a dream? And then I have like more vivid dreams, which are, I feel like that's when I'm in REM. REM sleep consists of lighter and deeper stages, and dreams can occur in any of these. When you're just falling asleep and start dreaming, you're typically in the first stage of REM sleep called REM stage 1. This is a transitional phase between wakefulness and sleep, and it's common to experience brief dreamlike imagery known as hypnagogic hallucinations during this stage. So this is like, first of all, I apologize. I'm so bad at pronouncing things. I probably have pronounced so many things wrong on this podcast already, but especially these like harder words to pronounce. So I apologize. Have patience with me, and I'll get better at pronouncing words as I say different things more. But anyways, this part of sleep is like, you know, when you're in bed and like you're super tired and like you're partly awake but you're partly asleep, and you start like thinking of something super random, and then like you're kind of you remember that you're like not asleep, and you're like, what was I just thinking of, sort of that state. That is how I interpret the NREM stage 1. So it's light sleep. It's the lightest sleep, lasting only a few minutes. Hence, like, you wake up and you're like, whoa, what was I just thinking? And then the hypnagogic, hallucinations. These are vivid, dreamlike sensory experiences that can include images, sounds, or even physical sensations. An example would be feeling like you're falling or hearing a voice. Oh yeah, I've definitely had the jolt awake because I feel like I'm falling. I wonder if that's part of that, or if that's like a different type of thing. I'll have to look into that. Then there's the brain activity, which is alpha waves associated with relaxation, transition into theta waves as you drift into sleep. So that's a mix. Those are like the different stages that you go through in that NREM stage 1, I guess. So you go through the light sleep, the hypnagogic hallucinations, and then there's like the type of brain activity that you have during that. Why you might start dreaming here is the brain is still partially active, blending external stimuli like sounds in the room with internal thoughts or images. And then there's the dreams at this stage tend to be brief and fragmented, unlike the vivid narratives of REM sleep. So in a summary, if you're dreaming as you're falling asleep, you're likely in stage 1 REM sleep, experiencing hypnagogic hallucinations. These fleeting dreamlike experiences often reflect the transition from wakefulness to sleep. So the major differences between REM and NREM dreams are REM dreams are vivid and emotionally intense, while NREM dreams are mundane and less emotional. REM dreams are narrative driven and surreal, while NREM dreams are fragmented and logical. REM dreams occur in REM stages, while NREM dreams occur in NREM stages. Why REM dreams are more memorable. REM sleep activates brain areas. Sorry, I'm in New York, guys, so if you are hearing the honking outside, I'm sorry, but it's New York. REM sleep activates brain areas in the, like I said, in the amygdala, which is the emotions, and the visual cortex, making dreams feel more lifelike and engaging. And the prefrontal cortex is less active in REM, allowing surreal and illogical content to dominate, which again, the prefrontal cortex in the brain is like your reasoning. So dreams can occur during any stage of sleep, but most vivid and emotionally charged dreams typically happen during REM. Dreams in REM sleep are more common than once thought, but are usually less elaborate. So I feel like REM dreams are the ones maybe that you, and this is an assumption, I don't know if this is actually true, but I feel like REM is more, you have more memorable dreams. You remember them a lot more. They're way more distinct, whereas dreams that are in the REM sleep are like ones that you wake up from and you're like, wait, I don't remember what I just dreamed of. Now, questions that I have that I want to look into that I didn't look into before this article is, do you dream every night? What are the myths behind dreaming? One thing I'm very curious about is, I don't know if you guys have heard this, but I've always heard that like your dreams are actually really short, even if they feel super long. So dreams can feel like super long, but are actually like only 4 seconds long or something. I don't know if that's true. That could be a myth. So if you know, let me know, but I'll also research it. So I thought all that stuff was interesting. These are all things that I learned a little bit in college as well. I also learned in my memory, sleep, and dreams class that like memories, it's interesting because when you remember things, you remember it differently every single time. Your brain is unable to actually remember exactly how that original event situation happened. And so every time your brain remembers something, it changes it a little bit. So that I thought was interesting. Another interesting thing is deja vu. Deja vu is, for those of you who don't know, is when you feel like you've experienced something before, but you can't explain where you experienced it, or like when it happened. It's almost like, it's almost like a spiritual experience where it's like, this happened to me before, but I never actually experienced it, or it was like in a past life that you know what I mean? So, but that's actually what I learned and I'm just recalling, this is like so many years ago that I took this class, so I'm probably remembering it not super accurately. So if you are interested in this, definitely look into it yourselves, and don't read too much into what I'm saying. But I believe when I was in that class, I learned that deja vu is like a trigger in your brain where something actually like physically is moving in it. It's something that moves in your brain, or something releases in your brain that causes you to have this like feeling of this happened before when it didn't necessarily happen before. So I thought that was very interesting. All right, so now I'm going to go into my dreams, and I've had some very, very strange dreams. So I chose dreams, obviously, that I remember, and I chose dreams that have kind of had an impact on me. So the first dream that I wanted to talk about is a scenario that I have had it's a dream scenario I've had with my dad since his passing. I always hear people talking about dreaming about a loved one that passes away, and that's them visiting them. What's interesting about this dream that I have with my dad is anytime since his passing I have dreamed about him, I always have basically the same dream, just in a different scenario, if that makes sense. So what I mean by that is every time I dream about him, the same thing happens, but it's like a different setting, maybe, you know? So an example, hold on, let me take a sip of my wine. Cheers to those of you maybe sipping on wine or something else at home while you listen and watch this podcast. So the dream that I have of my dad is he's always coming home from something, or it's always him like us seeing each other after not seeing each other for a super long time, and we're always so excited to see each other and spend time with each other, and it's very sweet, and it's usually just like a hangout, and if you're very spiritual like me, it does feel like he's visiting me. But I also kind of interpret it as I never see my dad, obviously. He's not here anymore. So I think in my head, in my sleep state, it really is like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in so long. It's so good to see you. Let's spend this time together. Fun fact, the last dream I had about him, which I think was like a week ago or a couple weeks ago, I had a dream that he took me to a Sabrina Carpenter concert, which is kind of funny because I think where that came from is I have been sort of wanting to go to a Sabrina Carpenter concert, and then I also have had my dad on my mind a lot, so those two kind of mixed, and it was a very sweet dream. And all the dreams I usually have about him are very sweet because, again, it's me just seeing him after a really long time and being able to, like, give him a hug, and it's very nice. So my other dream is about my brother who passed away. And this, I don't have dreams about him in the same way that I do my dad, where it's like I'm seeing him after not seeing him for a long time. I have dreams about him like not very often, and when I do, they're all pretty different, and some are a little scary. And this one that I'm going to share was a very scary dream, and it was pretty recent after I had this dream, right after around the time that he passed away. So it was probably like a month or so after. So in this dream, I am at some like family event thing at this house. I couldn't tell you what the house is. I don't recognize it as something in real life. It's something I made up in my head. And I'm like walking down the hallway and I see my brother Alex. And I am like, oh my gosh. And in the dream, he had already passed away. So in the dream in my head, I was like, oh my gosh, Alex, like, how are you here right now? It's so cool that I get to see you. And I don't know why I vividly remember his hands, but I remember seeing his hands and they were very, like, I don't know why I just remember his hands being a very vivid part of the dream. But he said to me in the dream, come on, Kyla, like, come with me. I have something to show you. And so, like, I follow him, and in the back of my head, and, like, I'm kind of feeling, like, a little weird. I'm like, what's going on? Like, this is crazy, whatever. So I follow him, and we end up in this, like, room full of mattresses, and I'm on one of the mattresses, and my mom is there on a different mattress, and my twin brother is there on a different mattress, and we're all like, what's happening? And it was weird. And then Alex is like, and yeah, Alex like looks at me and he's like, come on, come with me. You should come with me. And immediately I'm like, you're not my brother. It was like so creepy. I was like, you're not my brother. I'm not going to come with you. And he's like, you need to come with me right now, blah, 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 blah. And then I'm like, I'm not going to come with you. I know you're not my brother. And then I don't remember what happened, but I remember something where I'm like, you're Otis or something. And I just like came up with that name. I don't know. It was very, very weird and very, very creepy. And I don't remember what happened in the rest of the dream, but my boyfriend, Zach, who you guys have met through other episodes, woke me up, and he was telling me how I was like kind of like moving in my sleep and like breathing really loudly and like obviously disturbed, and he like woke me up because he noticed that I was having a really bad dream. So that was very creepy. But I will say I've had good dreams too. But the way I interpreted that at the time was like, oh, like what if there was like a bad spirit in my dream and they were trying to like get me? I don't know. It was very weird, creepy. I think at the time I was just kind of in a state of grief and dealing with trauma, and so I think it just mostly had to do with that. But okay, another dream I had when I was younger. I was probably maybe 6 or 7 at the time. I'm sure I had bad dreams before this, but this is like what I deem as like one of my first worst dreams or nightmares that I had, where I woke up and I like actually went to my mom because I was so disturbed by this. But it was a dream where I was learning how to play chess, and these 4 hands were teaching me how to play chess. They didn't have any bodies. They were just hands coming out of my pillow, and the surface where the chessboard was on like my pillow, and they were teaching me how to play chess. And I specifically remember learning that the horse, and I don't know how to play chess, so don't judge me, whatever, but the one thing I do know how to play is from my dream, which is in the chess, the horse in chess, you can move diagonally. And so I learned that in my dream, which was also very creepy. And I think that's what kind of creeped me out about it, because I was like, if I don't know how to play chess and I haven't really played chess, how is my dream teaching me how to play chess? Now, I will preface that by saying right before I went to bed, I was playing a game of chess, and my stepdad at the time was teaching me how to play. So my guess is he probably had taught me that. That's how I'm going to justify that. But at the time, I don't think I remembered that he taught me that, and I was like, seriously thought that I taught myself, or something or someone that entered my dream taught me how to play chess. It was very creepy. All right, and the last dream that I'm going to say that I had was, I don't remember the specifics of this dream, but I remember feeling like I was time traveling to this upside down world where I just remember being in this like realm where the sky was red, the trees were extremely tall, the trees were extremely tall, but they were also like only had purple leaves, and I don't know how to explain it. I just remember waking up and being like, that was like I traveled somewhere in my sleep. So I thought that was interesting. Now, for the last bit of the episode, I'm going to be reading dreams that I found that people wrote in on Reddit, because I just think it's very interesting reading other people's interpretations of dreams, how it affects them, and how weird they can be. So let's get into it. All right, this one I liked. I did a lot of I picked a lot of time travel-y dreams because I love time travel stuff. I love time travel in books. I love time travel in like movies and shows. And apparently I love time travel in dreams as well. So here we go. I had a dream I was able to time travel, and I went 10, 20, 100, 1,000, 2,000 years into the future. But the instant I went to 4,000, I got stuck in a time dilation jail set up by the American government in the year 3877, in which anyone that tried to time travel back or forth across May 23rd, 3877, while on Earth, would end up stuck in this time dilation chamber trap to stop time travelers. But it was so crazy and mismanaged because it was legit capturing every single time traveler ever, and the place had only been open for 12 minutes and was already getting overpopulated by non-stop multiple recursive instances of this one other guy trying to break previous versions of himself out of the goddamn traveler jail. Fascinating. This could be like I would watch a movie on this, or a TV show. I don't know why time travel is so interesting to me, and I don't know, I think what's cool about dreams is because they're so unexplainable. I'm just like, what if there isn't like a scientific, what if there is no science behind it? What if it is just like some sort of spiritual thing, or you do time travel, or there's like a fifth dimension or whatever, and there's just something that's like unexplainable to like us here on Earth. You know what I mean? I love theories like that. I'm gonna have to do an episode, I think, at some point about my theories and beliefs, and other people's theories and beliefs of things happening in the universe, things otherworldly. I love that stuff. It's so fascinating to me. Okay, everybody, let's take another sip. And let's read the next dream. Okay. I once had a dream I was in somebody else's house with a Middle Eastern style of decoration I didn't recognize, but it was beautiful. I was trying to walk up the stairs, and the building started shaking so hard that I couldn't balance and was falling all over the place. I wouldn't have thought much of it until the following morning. I found out there was a major earthquake in the Middle East that killed tens of thousands of people while I was asleep. I believe I lived through somebody's last moments of life. Crazy. This is so fascinating to me because, one, this was posted on Reddit a year ago or something, maybe probably a little bit more than a year ago, whatever. But in Turkey, there was a huge earthquake, and it killed a lot of people. And so I just find this to be extremely fascinating that literally they had a dream about experiencing this thing in a Middle Eastern country, and then the next day this happens. These things are just so unexplainable. It's so fascinating to me. All right. And I want to know what you guys think of this stuff. Like, what do you believe dreams mean, since there isn't a scientific meaning? Like, do you believe that there could be, some sort of spiritual something in it, a fifth dimension? Like, what do you guys think? I'm so fascinated by this. All right. Let's see. Okay. Years ago, I had a dream in which I saw 4 children jump into a river of fire. I turned to my husband and said, "Those children are dead." I woke up feeling very distressed. I got up and paced around the house for about 45 minutes, too upset to sleep. Finally, I went back to bed and did fall asleep. The next morning, the headiness of our local news reported 4 children die in a house fire. I was stunned. Also, so creepy, obviously so sad, but so creepy that someone had a dream about this happening before it happened. What do we think about that? What do you guys think about that? People who are listening to this, who are more intuitive, I want to hear your thoughts on that. Do you guys have dreams about things happening before they happen? Crazy. Okay. So this one is a little bit longer, and it's going to be my last dream I read. So this is the end of the episode, but we are kind of running a little bit long on time, so it's a good place to wrap, but this is a long one. So get ready. And I read the other ones prior. This one I read part of it, but I didn't read the whole thing. So we'll see how this actually is. Okay, this person wrote, I just woke up from a very realistic dream in which I had a huge glitch in the matrix that felt so real I actually feel really bad right now as if I really lived it. I was in my mom's car for some reason. She stopped the car on a countryside road in the middle of nowhere. There were large fields and some trees in this landscape. She told me to wait for her, that she'll be back, and I thought, okay, maybe she needs something in the car trunk. But after a few minutes, I realized my mom has vanished and I was alone on this road in this car. I waited for a very long time, several hours, but she wasn't anywhere. Her phone was, in parentheses, this person writes, her phone was in the car with me. And suddenly I started to see the sky changing colors. It became yellow, orange, pink, and then really red real fast. I thought it was a meteor, maybe, but then I realized it was a sunset, and I noticed a little bird on the car bumper. He was moving his head so fast, and his chest was breathing faster, and I thought to myself, what the hell? Why is this sunset so fast? And why is the sun going down now? Is it the end of the world? Am I going to die alone here? I was panicking so much that I didn't move. I was just petrified, watching now the days and nights passing in front of my eyes, all those sunsets and those sunrises, and now the seasons. I saw snow, flowers bloom, dry fields, and then autumn leaves. I saw the sequence several times. All I was able to see was the changing seasons, no more sunsets or sunrises, because everything was going so fast. It was a huge real-life time lapse in front of my eyes, and I thought, I think my mom never came back, and I died alone in this car, and now I have to watch the earth dying until the end. I was feeling really cold, and my breath was forming a little cloud because the air was freezing, and the next second the car was like an oven. The sun was constantly flashing in front of my eyes. It was just tiny flashes at this point, and I felt so alone. Time was passing really fast, but it's like I could feel all those years being alone. I was feeling like I have been the only person on earth for years, a very sad, lonely feeling, just emptiness. And I swear to God, guys, that it was so real. It wasn't a dream. It was something else. I felt it in my soul. And then I closed my eyes just for a blink, and time had stopped. I remember the feeling of thinking that maybe I just traveled through time, but I wasn't dead, and my mom came back, just like everything was normal. But I looked at her, and it was her, but different. She had different hair, longer, different clothes, a different personality. She seemed to be more bubbly and less tired and sick, if not at all. And in parentheses, this person writes, my mom has a chronic disease. I remember telling her, wait, on repeat, and taking my head in my hands and trying to focus, asking her questions like, for how long did you leave the car? And she said, 5 minutes. Why? How old am I? You're 20. You're 20. What is going on? But she was laughing and I wasn't. I'm almost 24, not 20. So I realized I traveled back in time. I told her everything, and she was thinking I was pranking her or speaking nonsense. So she had this expression on her face where she didn't know if she had to laugh or be worried. And then I remember thinking, oh no, what else is different in this dimension? Is my dad okay? Is my boyfriend still with me? I don't want to live in this dimension. I want to find my real mom. And then my alarm rang and I woke up. And I feel really bad and sad, just like a part of me was really trapped there on this road in the fields. I have to say right up front, I don't really dream often. Usually when I fall asleep, it's just black and disconnected sense of time until I wake up. When I do dream, the dreams hold significance of some sort. That's why this dream, being so vivid, has left enough of an impression on me that I had to share it with you guys, especially as it exemplifies why I'm so determined and driven to live to see time travel become a reality, no matter what it takes. Why my claim of such is real. I will warn you beforehand, this may be a bit long, detail-oriented post. So without, especially because it exemplifies why I'm so determined. Oh, I do have another one. Sorry, guys, I started reading a different post. So this ended as, and then my alarm rang and I woke up and I feel really bad and sad, just like a part of me was really trapped there on this road in the fields. Whew, time travel. That was crazy. This is why I want to know how long we actually dream for, and if it is like just for a few seconds at a time, but it feels longer, and why does it feel longer if that's the case, or if it is just a myth. Okay, so this next one is obviously, I started reading it about time travel, and this is a way longer, long post. So this is the one I did not read before because I was getting confused. All right, let's do it. All right, I have to say right up front, I don't really dream often. Usually when I fall asleep, it's just black and disconnected sense of time until I wake up. When I do dream, the dreams hold significance of some sort. That's why this dream being so vivid has left enough of an impression on me that I had to share it with you guys, especially as it exemplifies why I'm so determined and driven to live to see time travel become reality no matter what it takes. Why my claim of such is real. I will warn you beforehand, this may be a bit long, detail-oriented post. So without further ado, let me get to it. The dream took place over the span of an entire day, starting when I woke up. For a quick understanding of the time period and location, even though I'm an American who only saw the end of the 20th century in the 90s, the 1950s has always drawn me to it. I've honestly always felt more connected to it than the 21st century, and in particular, due to personal reasons, the country of England. In my mind, I've already chosen the country of Berkshire as where I want to live, if I can live to make it back there. And the dream started with me in the market town of Maidenhead, having just arrived from the future the night before. This would be my first day actually experiencing what I dreamed about and worked so hard to make it back to. I had brought something with me from the future, an early to mid 2000s Triumph Bonneville T100 motorcycle, which I'd chosen for a specific reason. The bike's retro body style, color style, carbureted engine, and exhaust note and wire wheels meant that it could blend well into period traffic, especially as Triumph bikes existed back then, while giving me just a little more horsepower and modern brakes. Hiding in plain sight, to borrow a phrase. And I'd brought one other thing as well. While I may appreciate modern amenities such as medicine, there isn't much I can leverage. I like more from now against then, but I do have a certain affinity for some modern music. So I'd brought an iPod Nano, which I'd paired with an extremely discreet pair of wireless earbuds, which wouldn't attract people's attention, which at least for my very first ride, I'd chosen to wear and listen to a custom playlist I'd made especially for this ride as I worked my way through 3 different places I planned to hit that day. I worked my way through 3 different places I planned to hit that day, around Maidenhead itself to see where I'd chosen to live, the neighboring village of Bry, and then off to see London, a city I'd visited in 2004. Saying that it created a surreal experience would be an understatement of epic proportions in the most glorious way. I'm not going to recount my exact path through the 3 locations, though God knows the images in my mind are so vivid that I could point out exactly on a map where I went. I would be writing a literal novel chapter here. Instead, I'll briefly summarize with some choice locations. In Maidenhead, I rode down Ray Mead Road, which parallels the River Thames at times, zipping past Bolter's Lock as boaters and period vessels waited for it to fill up, into the town center and down the high street, past pubs and buildings which have either long since disappeared now or been changed. When I reached Bray, I took a ride down the village's main street, then branched out to smaller back roads like Brayfield Road, the quaint cottages lining both sides of the streets. I stopped once to look out at the Thames before I left there, and then London. It took me a while to reach. I needed to stop for gasoline at least once, as without the motorways existing yet, it took longer than it would now. But when I reached it, man, I was in awe. The city looked simultaneously so familiar to me from visiting in my childhood, and so different without the modern buildings I'd remember seeing in 2004. Things like the Gherkin and the London Eye, crossing the Westminster Bridge and seeing Big Ben and the House of Parliament rising up next to me as I rode past was a highlight, as was riding into the wealthy borough of Chelsea and down streets like Burnstall Street, as well as up Denmark Street in the West End. It was amazing to say the least. Let me also say that it was clearly the early 1950s as well, likely between 1951 and 1954, simply due to the traffic that I shared the road with, cars that were clearly either brand new or only a few years old, like the Ford Consul, Rover P4, Morris Minor, MG TD, and even a gorgeous Jaguar XK120 I spotted in Chelsea, along the older cars like Vauxhall Wyverns and standard Vanguards, trucks and lorries from companies like Leyland, Bedford, and AEC, and of course the famous red double-decker AEC Routemaster buses in London, along with darker colored versions around Maidenhead and Bray, and back Austin FX3, and Lanchester London taxi cabs. As a humorous side note, I fully admit at one point I made the mistake of following too closely behind one of the buses and got a lovely puff of exhaust smoke in my direction. I coughed for a moment, then just started laughing at my own stupidity. All the while with a stark juxtaposition, a dichotomy between the sights, smells, and dull, but ever-present sounds of the 20th century world around me, and the music songs from the 21st century which wouldn't be recorded, written, or even conceived for decades. The smells of food coming from pubs and restaurants, especially the intoxicating smell of fish and chips from places in the city and both towns. The fresh smell of rain on the road from a storm the night I had arrived, the smell of the exhaust and the rumble of both my Triumph, and the distant sound of traffic around me, the occasional horn honking and the dull sound of people calling out, children laughing, police blowing their whistles, the sights of street vendors, the old-styled signs over and in front of buildings and shops, and what I can only describe in words as the soundtrack of modernity. It served almost as a bridge between the two worlds, the one I had grown up in and experienced so much of my fundamental memories, and the one I had longed desperately to witness firsthand all of my life. The one I had grown up watching in period films tucked in the corner of the living room and reading about, seeing black and white photos of and wishing I could simply fall into, now directly in front of me. To borrow another phrase, living color, it served as a collision of two worlds in my mind, hitting home the fact that I was actually there as songs from artists like Rihanna, Jay Sean, Mayday, Parade, and Slaves echoed softly in my ears. I was no longer witnessing history from afar. I was now part of it, intertwined with it forever. But the most impactful part wasn't that wasn't that as emotionally weighed as it was. It was seeing the people I passed by, men, women, children, shopkeepers, policemen, taxi drivers, women out shopping, some who looked briefly over at me as I passed, seeing me, but never understanding who I really was, where I was from, or the significance of my ride, all going about their daily lives, not fully comprehending how fleeting their time on this planet was, how fleeting these moments were for them, never to come back again exactly as they had been. I was witnessing the kind of history that is not written about in the history books, and the kind that even documentary films of the day never caught. Lives, identities, and moments that would fade into obscurity with time, memories that would fade and disappear with passing generations. Names and faces that even now in 2024 belong to those at the very ends of their lives or have long since passed away, let alone in the decades and centuries to come. The gravity of bearing witness to so many public and yet simultaneously so many intimate moments hit me like a Mack truck. No amount of money could ever amount to how priceless and irreplaceable seeing them were. I'm happy I was wearing a pair of sunglasses because I did tear up more than once as it hit me over and over the head like a piano dropped on a cartoon cat. Even so, I couldn't stop myself from smiling wide and gazing around in awe at even the most mundane things. It's hard to describe, but I simultaneously felt conflicting emotions. I felt isolated in a way. I knew I was the only person in existence at that moment who was listening to those songs as I saw the sights I did, even though I looked similar. I was unlike them, from a different world. It wasn't a lonely type of isolation, though, the kind you'd think would make most people scamper back to get back to their own time. It was a contemplative sense of solitude, one that lent me to think about my own existence, rethinking my sense of self, and yet I felt connected in a way I don't think I ever truly have before, being amongst them, seeing them go about their business and knowing I was going to be spending the rest of my life amongst them. I felt the most potent sense of peace I ever have fall over me. This world, like the one I came from, wasn't perfect. Utopias don't exist. Everywhere would have its problems, its darkness and pain, but here, to me, I felt like I was home. And that on top of the whole dream is why, regardless of how many people try and argue that time travel will never happen, that time travel to the past is impossible, or any other negative views, I don't give up. I don't change course. Why? I have changed so much about myself in a good way, being 5 years, quit smoking, cold turkey, and almost completely having given up drinking, working out and having lost almost 30 pounds while trying to gain muscle, getting back to writing stories, trying to make enough money from posting them on here to publish my own books and make a living off of it, teaching myself to deal with hard times and loss, among other things, and why, if need be, I will absolutely utilize the life extension and physical age reversal technologies and medicine that are being developed in their infancy right now, willingly watching everything and everyone I've ever known pass on from this world, and it fundamentally change. Even if it takes centuries for it to come to pass, it's worth it, because that dream, I don't just want to make reality, I need to. That day is the accumulation of everything I am, ever have done, and ever will be. The transcendental moment that marks my existence as complete. I don't want time travel to change the past or benefit from it by seeing the future. I want to see those moments and become part of them myself and live out my life in peace in that moment in history, and that is a deeper drive than anyone can ever dissuade me away from. To quote a line from one of the songs I listened to on my ride, find light in the beautiful sea, I choose to be happy. That time period, that existence is my light in the sea, and I choose to be happy by going full steam straight for it, but there you are. I apologize profusely for how damn long this post has been. If you made it all the way to the end, I thank you for doing so. You can feel free to comment about it if you wish, but I just wanted to share it. That's a pretty crazy story, a pretty crazy dream. I wanted to end there because it's just interesting how dreams can have such a fascinating impact on people. And that dream changed that person's whole life. And who knows? Did she really time travel? I don't know. That was so all of her things, all the details that she was putting in that were, or he, she, they, them, I don't know who this person is, but that person who was putting in all those details is very interesting, because I feel like when I remember dreams, it's very fragmented. Even if it's like a deeper, like more vivid dream, it's very fragmented. Like even how I was explaining the dreams that I chose to pick and share here were pretty fragmented. I couldn't remember them as a whole and how exactly I remembered it. So I'm like, either that person is really good at remembering dreams, or that person really time traveled, or that person is just a very good writer and had a very good story. So who knows, but it's all very fascinating to me. And I want to know, is it fascinating to you guys? What did you guys think of this episode? Did you like talking about memory, sleep, and dreams? What are some weird, vivid dreams you guys have had? What are your theories on dreams? I want to know it all. Let's have a discussion about it. But I'm going to end here. I'm going to wrap it up. I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in once again. It means so much. And please remember to rate, like, share, follow, subscribe. I have a YouTube page now for the Better Together podcast. Everything is linked below. You can follow me on my personal Instagram, which is Kyla_Milberger. You can follow me on the podcast Instagram, which is _Better_Together_podcast. Please send in questions, comments, stories to the bettertogetherpod@gmail.com, and I will see you next Sunday. Bye.